Mr. Mike McIsaac. How are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me on your podcast, Dominic.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that we finally got you on here. You're a busy guy. I don't mind telling everybody the last time we tried to get you on here, you were in the middle of a transaction helping somebody sell their company. We just weren't able to put it together, but you're here today.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, when we get to the end of selling a company, our schedules are very unpredictable, I'll be honest, and we can go around the clock sometimes. So
Well,
apologize for that, but really happy to be here today.
yeah, no, I think it lends itself to why I asked you to be on the call, because we're speaking to business owners today, people that own construction companies, trades companies, cabinet makers, architecture mill workers, other trades as well. So,
Yep.
Mike, why would we ask you to talk to a group of business owners in construction trades? Who the heck is Mike McIsaac? Why should we care?
Well, Mike McIsaac, my background is I'm a CPA, so I've been in public accounting for 25 plus years. And I actually, our firm was a member of the BC Road Builders Association, my former firm. I did sell that firm, but so we worked with companies that were in heavy construction, road maintenance, and all the peripheral companies around construction, roads and infrastructure. So I actually have a really strong background in construction related advisory services. And have taken quite a few of those same companies to market and sold them or helped them transition their business. So yeah, I got a good background, and I like this. I like to throw the sledgehammer when I can as well. So I've done a little bit of home renovation and tearing down homes. Not the building part of it, but the demolition part.
The demo. I always say that's the sign of a bad weekend when Saturday morning all I've got in front of me is a sledgehammer and a wheelbarrow.
Yeah. Oh my God. I like those days, to be honest, but I can't put it back together very well.
No, I'm sure most of our listeners are laughing at us right now.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you gave us that overview of your background, and so you've sold a couple of your own companies too.
I have. I'm not just whistling Dixie. I've acquired companies, so accounting firms. I've acquired. I've also acquired a construction company that was in shotcrete and shoring, and some gyms, and I own pubs, and I still own some manufacturing companies that are. I call them my portfolio companies, but I'm actively involved in running them as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of relevant information on both sides of buying, selling, and advising. So it's exciting. I'm like you, entrepreneur. I like to keep myself too busy.
That too busy is the way we go, and that's most of our listeners and people that are involved in this, sort of seeking knowledge to seeking more knowledge. Like, we're trying to find better ways of doing things better, faster, smarter, cheaper.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, today we're going to be doing a head-to-head battle, you and I, of two
Love
things
it.
I know we're passionate about, which is EOS, which is Entrepreneur Operating System, versus Traction, which is the Rockefeller Habits System.
Oh, well, I think Traction is EOS. What's
Did
your?
I get that backwards? Traction is EOS? Oh, because I'm looking at the titles here.
Yeah.
Oh, round one goes to McIsaac.
Scaling up is, yeah. Burns is scaling up, and then there's Traction, which is
Yeah.
Gino.
For those of you who can't see it on camera, I'm holding up both books, and now I'm banging them together. Round one goes to Mike McIsaac for Traction, just for my flub dub.
Perfect.
But listen, before we get to that, because a lot of the people listening here have thoughts of either exiting one day, or the other end of the listeners, if you will, is people thinking about taking over, or they've just recently taken over the company and they want to grow it. So, Mike, just really briefly, selling the business doesn't mean just selling it to somebody new. It could mean an internal transfer, like a management buyout thing, right? Things like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. I always say you're going to transition your business one way or another. It's just how are you going to do it, or you're going to exit your business one way or another. So, when I first got into public accounting, it was mostly people were thinking about transitioning within their family.
Right.
And and the second option was a management buyout. So that would be the group within your company that are capable of taking on your business. And yeah, the third one is selling to third party, which again there's multiple different types of third parties that can carry you. And so I always say the biggest thing here is planning planning for your exit is the preferred method of going, because you're going to have the most desired and result that matches what you want out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think what we're going to do, Mike, is we're going to keep this topic to the EOS and traction and scaling up convo, and I'm going to bring you back, and we're going to talk about some of your experiences, maybe stories that you've had about selling companies or being a buyer. And
Yeah.
I think the listeners here would really enjoy hearing some of the war stories you've got.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah. Can we do that?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's get to this. So for those of you listening, thanks for tuning in. Whether you're walking the dog, driving, you're at the gym on the treadmill, whatever you're doing listening to the podcast, this is a pretty juicy one, because we're going to be talking about something at a really high level, something Mike and I know really well, which is strategic planning. So Mike, before we get into whether and which system we happen to use, why is strategic planning important to you in a company?
Yeah, I think that a lot of business owners can get to a certain size on their own, and under their own skill sets and their own time, their own supervision. But strategic planning, I think, allows companies to get to that next level.
Yeah.
And you need an organized system of managing your business to break through the barriers and levels that can be achieved from, like, I always put it back to like sole practitioners in accounting. Like, you can get to a certain comfortable level, but if you want to grow past that, you have to have an organized system. You have to have more people involved in running a business. And how do you do that? Because I don't think some of it comes naturally. And so
No.
Vern and Gino have come up with systems that help you run a business to grow it and achieve your vision. So yeah, so that's why. That's the why around this.
I think you and I are in agreement on that next level, because people, I'm a business coach. And so people say, Dom, we want to get to the next level. Let's talk. And for you, because of your finance background and as is obvious to the people listening now, you help people sell businesses in whatever format that is. That's the next level for somebody on some end of that transaction.
Yeah.
But I can never remember who says this, but what got you here ain't going to get you there. Right. So if I'm
words, I don't know who said it either,
but it's good.
Yeah.
Good stuff. If I'm a $2 million business and I want to be a $3 million business, I can't do the same things that I did to get to 2.
Correct.
And so I would explain it the same way. The next level, moving from 5 employees to 15 employees, moving from 2 million to 3 million, or whatever your numbers are, you just need a different approach, right?
Yeah.
The training is different. So interesting. So there's for people that don't know, and you've already talked about it, there's 2 different strategic planning systems that we use. It's sort of in the English speaking world. I know there's another one that the Brazilians use. It's all in Portuguese. I'm not even going to get into it. And I only know that because of my past background in coaching. And I'm sure there's other ones in other languages. I'm not taking away from those. But these are the big 800-pound gorillas of strategic planning in the markets that you and I operate in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess there's doing nothing. Does that count as one of them?
Yeah. That's definitely probably the most popular one out there.
It's the best seller.
Well, I don't know if it's the best. That's what people do. I mean, you keep on doing what you've done in the past, and it's going to keep you where you are, right? And so, but that's your comfort zone. So if you don't ever really want to grow, or even sometimes it's just maintaining, you're going to keep on doing nothing.
Hey, let me add this flavor, because I've got you on the line, and you're a transaction expert. What does that look like if there's 2 companies for sale? One of them has some sort of strategic planning in place, and the other one doesn't. How does that show up when it comes time to sell?
Yeah, I can tell you from personal experience where we took a company to market that was using a management operating system, that there was just so much more interest in acquiring it from all different types of potential buyers. Because if you're a private equity guy, or if you're somebody like me who's financial, I don't have the expertise to go in and run. You've talked about it on your show, making cabinets or manufacturing something, I don't have the expertise around that. But if there's already a team in place that's running that business and operating it, I could come in at a very high level to acquire it, and they're not going to have to rely on my expertise in the business. So that just is valued higher. So to break it down into simple terms, you'll get a higher multiple if you're running a management system that doesn't rely on an ownership structure, doesn't rely on just the owner.
What's in the owner's head?
What's in the owner's head, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even his abilities about, whatever it is. This is a good cabinet, or this is a bad cabinet, or this was installed well, or it wasn't installed well. I'm not sure about your technical abilities, but I can say something looks nice, but that's not going to really, buy over a customer in the long run.
No. And it's the same for our the people that are listening here, regardless of what trade they're in. I think what Mike, you and I are here to talk about today is not being better at whatever your trade is. So the goal of the end learning goal we have for those of you listening today is not that you're a better cabinet maker at the end of this, or a better electrician running an electrical company, running a cabinet making company. The goal is you're a better entrepreneur who happens to run a cabinet shop, who happens to be an electrical contractor, who happens to build solar systems for home power, whatever you do, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that side comment, but I think it's important. So can you let's have this conversation about the difference of these two systems and when you think these systems are right for what kind of company. So why don't we start with Traction, which is the Gino Wickman system. And for those of you who might be watching on video, I'm holding that up here. There's a couple of different books that Gino Wickman has written. This most recent one or the one we're talking about here is Traction, where he lays out the system. What do you think are the pluses, the good side to the EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, and Traction?
Well, those two books that you have in your hands, the Traction book, you will not fall asleep reading it. I think that you will. Oh, there's a good jab, eh?
He's coming up.
As an entrepreneur, you will be eager to keep on reading through that book, and you will find stuff that you'll go, oh my God, he's writing about my business. This person that he's talking about, I have that person in my organization. I'm having the same struggles with them, and I've just been ignoring it. And this is telling you how to deal with those things right away. Like, it really gets into the experience, sharing the experience of small, medium-sized businesses across the board. They're having the same issues. They have the same people that are in the same seats that are doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
And you relate to it right away.
Yep. Yeah, it's relatable.
So I that was a bit of a jab. I had a hard time reading Scaling Up. It's very technical. There's a lot of technical information, whereas Traction, Get a Grip, is an easy to read document.
Easier to read for sure. I mean, I think the job that guys like you and I have is so that the people we work with don't have to read it. Like, if they're self-implementing, they have to read it. If you're doing it yourself, you have to read it. If you're using somebody like me or Mike, I guess somebody like you, then we walk them through it. But
yeah,
I would agree. The Rockefeller Habits, this book that I'm holding up right now, and the current version of that is called Scaling Up, is a tough read. The first time I read the Rockefeller Habits had to be 15 years ago. And I put it down. I couldn't read it at all. I didn't understand it. I had to read it twice to get it. And then it just clicked. Everything clicked for me right there. And, I went on to build 2 companies using the Rockefeller Habits system. Mike, you've built a couple companies as well. I don't know if you've tried going back and forth between the 2.
I have not tried Scaling Up, but I've implemented Traction in 3 different companies.
Right.
So I'm very familiar with that, and we've used an implementer in each one. So
yeah, they're both. So for those of you listening, both of these get to the same end goal, and the end goal, Mike already said earlier, is that you have systems and processes in place that you believe in, and the company runs on systems and processes, not what's in your head. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. When I do coaching and I sit in front of a business owner who knows about both, and maybe they've read both books or have, usually you've got a friend who's tried one or the other, so you hear about it as an owner. The thing that I like about traction is that it's simple. The thing that I I don't like about traction is that it's so simple that you have to add stuff in later. The opposite is true of scaling up or the Rockefeller habits. There's so much in there that you have to ignore a bunch of things. And the stress that I get from some of my clients is they're like, Dom, there's all this stuff. I don't know which one to do first. And I say, we're just going to do the 1-page strategic plan. That's it. And we'll ignore everything else until we need it. And then we can add it back in. So one is like almost too small and you have to add to it. The other one's too big and you have to take away from it. It becomes a matter of choice, I think.
Yeah, and and I guess I can't really speak too much to the complexity of implementing scaling up, but I do like the idea of something that's it's not all theory. There's no magic pill. There's no flavor of the month. It's just timeless principles that both of them share.
Yeah.
That make organizations great.
Yeah.
And it's I like both of them are business operating systems. Traction sort of has this its overview is you clarify, you simplify, and you achieve your vision. So if you're struggling with how to achieve your vision in either way, I think you have to have something like EOS or scaling up to help you achieve that vision.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, so
the power
okay.
the power of both of them is that it forces you to focus on answer one question before you move on to the next question. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, just get clear on who your customer is. That sounds so simple. Right?
Doesn't it?
So let me ask you this again, because of your background. Mike, have you ever dealt with a company who didn't fully understand their ideal customer? And this is when you're going to either buy that, help somebody buy that business or help somebody sell that business.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those. I'm not sure if it's just not everybody's like this as an entrepreneur, but there's a lot of businesses out there that think, especially early on, they go, well, I'm going to try and serve everybody because I need revenue. I want to serve as many people as possible so that I can get revenue in the doors. And
right.
And they forget, to fit that niche. What's your niche? Where's your spot? Is it a certain segment of the population, or like there's so many different variables in there, but just to narrow the focus on what you want to go after. And I think that you're really like the first stage of turning the corner is when you say no to somebody.
Yeah.
And you go on that you are not, either you're not in my focus, or there isn't an alignment of, I hate to use that word, but core values. And I like to work with people that I like to work with. They like to work with me. And so there's this automatic synergy that happens in your business relationship. And, there's a mutual beneficial relationship where I'm giving something and they're giving me something back. And whether it's monetary or not, you can recognize that there's that mutual beneficial relationship. It's key.
Yep.
It's key in growing. So
it is. It has to work for both. And if you're a provider of services, you have to line up with the person you're providing them with. And an easy example in trades is if you're having real trouble getting your trucks into the downtown core to do the work you're bidding on, bid on other work. If you're really good at industrial parks that are just being developed, then focus on that work where it's easy to park, easy to get to, there's no big hassle, right? Because parking downtown in some cities, take a big city like San Francisco, LA, Chicago, Vancouver, Toronto, getting downtown is a job on its own. And if that's eating up your overhead and your time, and it's hard for your guys to get down there, and then you get parking tickets all day and it takes forever to manage that, why are you continuing to bid on jobs that are in those downtown cores? And that's one example. But choose your customers and choose who you work for and the kind of work you do really, really carefully. And that's why I say both of these systems just ask you one question at a time, and then answer the question. Once you've answered that, then we can move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know that we're getting into the weeds here on each of the systems, but we talk about your core focus in EOS, but I think that what you're hitting in there is also like what your target market, and EOS is like identifying what your 3 uniques are about you and your business. And it's not about it's not necessarily about your target client, but it's narrowing it down for them. Why do they want to use you? Here's the 3 things that are unique about me that you're going to be attracted to, and it'll be different for, in your case there, it's I focus on downtown core. And so somebody in the downtown core will go, okay, well, tick, that's definitely somebody I want. This is their niche market versus I focus on some other area. Or and I focus on this specific type of custom work. Narrowing that focus, I think helps. I mean, I think it scares people because you're narrowing your potential customers,
You're
but at
saying
the
no
same
to
time,
people, and you think you're saying no to
you're
business.
saying that's what you think. It doesn't mean that you can't accept something outside of that, but it means that you're attracting that type of client towards you immediately. This is our niche. When you go to sit down and talk to somebody and you're able to say, you are my ideal client, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And if you can identify why they're your ideal client, I think you're developing this relationship with them that makes it harder for them to say no or go somewhere else.
Yeah. Let me go somewhere else in the strategic planning system, and for both traction and scaling up. And that is the unicorn in the room. Why do we talk about culture and values and vision? Isn't that just a bunch of hoo-ha?
Oh, absolutely not. This
What?
is the most important thing.
What do you
I mean,
mean?
I am such a believer in culture now. Having the culture within your organization, like everybody being on the same page for what's our mission. I know my wife thinks I'm hokey when I talk about this stuff, but I'm
I get
pretty
the
passionate
same
about it.
feedback, Mike. And that's why I'm bringing it up, because I'll deliver this to a group of stone-faced, scowling tradesmen. And I'm talking about
Yeah,
vision and mission and culture and values. And they're like,
yeah,
what are you doing on stage?
yeah. Yeah, well, then that they don't resonate together with you. That's somebody that's not going to be on the same page with you within your organization.
Yeah.
You got to set the mission and vision are just people in your organization want to hear where we're going. Like, what is the mission? What's the vision here? Because we want this connection and to our where we're working, and we want to be proud of it. We want to talk to other people about it. Even if you're swinging hammers, I think that you want to be proud of your company. And core values, yeah, I mean, man, I tell you, Gino, I think nailed it when he talks about, you hire and you fire and you make decisions based on your core values. People are either on the same page or they're not, and you give them time. Like once you've developed it and you've 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 made sure that everybody in your organization is aware of those things,
Mhm.
you give them time to either fall in line with it or they'll fall out of line automatically.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen in practice. And because we often get stuck thinking, okay, well, this guy, doesn't really share the same core values as us, but he's really good at sales. He's our best salesman, but he kills your culture. Like, you got to get rid of that, even if he is your best salesman.
Yeah, that's a very difficult conversation. I mean, really, that's a lot of these difficult conversations are the core of what I do in business coaching, or the reason we have this podcast, is so we can talk about a question and just sort of develop the answer. But culture is so. For those of you listening who think that talking about culture and vision and values and mission is a unicorn, then I want you to picture this kind of unicorn. I want you to think about the last Super Bowl you saw, and I want you to think about the
Oh,
Budweiser ad. You know those big horses? Take one of those big muscular stallions, hold it up against the sun so it's silhouetted and in all its beauty, and then put a big, I don't know, iron horn coming out of its head. That is the unicorn we're talking about here. It is the thing that glues a company together. And Mike, I'll just ask you, I don't know the answer. Do I get a better price for my company when I sell it if we have a culture, vision, mission, and values that are aligned?
oh, it's a no-brainer, of course, 100%. You might get a multiple of what you would have had. Like, I mean, a multiple of the overall enterprise value by having strong culture.
So
And I see private equity groups out there. There's a flip side to this. I see private equity groups out there or strategics looking to match culture to culture, or looking to acquire and bring in culture that they could spread through their own organizations.
Wow.
So, and I also see the guys who've built strong culture companies that when they sell, they want to ensure that it's carried on. And so, it goes both ways, but definitely strong culture is important.
So this might be a tough question, but you just walk into a new company, regardless of whether you're helping that company buy or be bought. And what are the flags that go off to you that they don't have the right elements of culture, vision, and values?
Well, I mean, first of all, they wouldn't have it communicated, so written down and communicated to everybody. So it's hard for somebody to fall in line if it's not documented and shared.
Yeah.
If it only resides inside the business owners or founders head, then it's not gonna
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah, not this isn't totally true, because sometimes somebody sets a great example and they're all following it, and it's just natural leadership.
Natural leader.
That's
Yeah. Natural quarterback.
but that's not everybody out there, right? That's not everybody running a business is like that. They're definitely like a unicorn.
You know what I see?
But
I, can I throw in what I see that are signs that the culture's not there?
yeah,
Bad communication, long meetings that go nowhere,
oof,
um,
yeah,
crossed wires, like partners that aren't talking, and I don't mean necessarily business partners, but maybe the owner and their number two don't see eye to eye on things, but it's just the elephant in the room in that case, and nobody talks about it, so everybody skirts around it. The other thing that comes up is there's no real clear direction on who reports to who and who's responsible for what. So
oh,
then
that's a big one right there.
um, nobody's responsible and nobody's accountable,
Yeah.
right? And then it usually shows up in the work output some way. I can't. It's different for every company, but in some way the work output's not the same. Maybe the sales are lower, the output's lower, or we're not getting quality control the same we want, or customers aren't being dealt with in a consistent way. Those are the things I see that tell me we got to look back up and start to poke at what do we have to do in the culture. Every company's got a culture. Every single company has a culture. The question listeners have to ask themselves is who's driving it?
Yeah.
Is it Freddie on the floor or is it you in the office driving the culture?
Dominic, this analogy always hits home for me when we're talking about culture, where you can go into a place and you can feel the culture, right? You can
Yeah.
feel it. You literally can feel it. And the ones that don't have good cultures, I like to think of them like, I don't know if you remember the character in Charlie Brown. I think you're old enough to remember Charlie Brown. I am.
Yeah, I am.
But there's the character in there that has the big cloud around him, and everywhere he goes, he just sort of
Pigpen.
brings it down, right?
Pigpen.
There's those cultures where this negativity just moves around on top of people, and it's just a big cloud, and it's wow, negativity just kills culture. And so somehow at the top you have allowed this negativity to survive and multiply and grow, and that's, I mean, having an organized system, either of these systems, is going to help you combat that negativity that kills culture.
Yeah. You know what? You're going to be amazed at what just came to mind when you said that. The permits and licensing department of my local city hall.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Eh?
Right? Or the DMV for people in the States.
Yeah.
Um, so when you use Traction, when you use EOS, how long does it take to get that in place with the implementer?
Well, it's definitely not an overnight take a pill sort of thing, but it starts. I mean, you take your first step with EOS, and your implementer is, first of all, it's a bit of an interview process to make sure that you're compatible with an implementer, and they'll come in and spend an hour and a half with you and your team and just walk you through what it is about EOS, the tools, the process, and the
Right.
timing. And if you make it past that, and your team is, or at least yourself, is fired up about implementing, and I hope that everybody on the team is. They won't necessarily all remain on the team through the process, but you got to have enough people that are bought into it.
Yeah.
And then you go through, there's probably about 5 main full day sessions over about a year and a half. So your first, and you get a lot of the initial tools that you need to start using and practicing within your management team and setting up your management team's meeting. And so some people I've seen are frustrated. They're like, oh, I thought that I'm going to get to my core values after day one. Well, you're not going to early on. There's an education process and learning some new skills in how you're running your business.
Yeah.
Really simple things like, like a scorecard that, it's a buzzword, I think, out there, but what is on your scorecard is super important. And so you need to practice with what should be on it and measuring it weekly to see how that is going to help, run your, give you feedback about how you're running your business.
Yeah.
Another big thing that early on is that we start with this meeting pulse. So your management team meets the same time, not necessarily the same place, but has the same agenda, same day of the week.
Right.
And you really only miss it if somebody dies or you're on vacation. It's like really important to have your consistent management meeting. So it starts on time, it ends on time, it follows the same agenda,
Love it.
which
Yeah.
life-changing for some people. Life-changing. I'm serious. Like, people hate sitting in meetings that they have
Well,
no idea when it's supposed to start.
yeah.
The owner comes in, 15 minutes, an hour late, or sometimes he just misses it for whatever reason. Like,
No,
people are frustrated by that.
that's the
On
culture.
time, same
Mike,
time.
that's the culture.
Yep.
That's the
That's
culture.
culture.
You have just set the culture in your company. You show up late for that preset meeting.
Yeah. So it's a big mistake that people don't even realize that they're making. So the other thing in there is that meeting has a fixed agenda with timelines on it. And
Boom, boom,
if
boom.
you
Yeah.
are going, if something comes up in your meeting and it's not on the agenda, well, you got to hit the tangent button and go, okay, well, that's an issue. We're going to put it over here and we're going to talk about it during the part of our meeting when we talk about issues, if
Right.
it's a priority. And it just sort of keeps you on track so that you can actually follow, a 90-minute, 90 minutes, not short, it's not long, it's super focused, and you're running at like everybody's running at a high level.
Yeah.
Keep them up there.
You
So,
know, this is one of the differences between traction and scaling up. On the scaling up side, there's still it still takes a while to put the system in place, but while you're doing it, you're getting better. It's like training for a marathon or getting back to the gym. You have to start to get better.
yeah,
But, we'll kick it off with like a 1 day or maybe a 6 hour session just to really set all of the main high points of the strategic plan. You called it a business operating system. That's really what it is, but it's a people operating system within the business, right? And I like
yeah,
to tell the people I work with is imagine a wheel, but it's in the shape of a square. And we're going to keep turning that square until it turns into a round wheel. And the way we do that is we revisit the strategic plan every quarter. So every 3 or 4 months, we're going to come back and revisit it. So it's like bringing your business plan to life. And because we keep coming back to revisit it, everybody gets used to talking about it and used to poking at it and adding to it and getting used to it. And it gets tighter and tighter as time goes on. And that square turns into a nice round circle and it spins freely and easily. That's what I like about this system. And that's why I've used it to build my companies. And you've done the same with Traction. It's just a different method for getting to the same place.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the idea that it's you're taking full days usually out of the office with your management team to develop that. In ours there's a 2-day vision building session, and that's probably about 3 to 6 months into the process where
Wow.
now you have these fundamental tools, and you
Yeah.
sit down, and as a team you set your core values, your core focus, your BHAG, or your 10-year target, and your marketing strategy, your 3-year picture, your 1-year plan, quarterly rocks, we can get to rocks later, and your
Yeah.
issues list. So at the end so now you've really spent 3 full days with an implementer, and you now have this picture, this vision, and now you go forward. And same as yours, there's quarterly meetings after that where you're checking in to see, are we meeting our rocks, our quarterly rocks?
Yeah.
How's our team health?
Yeah. The
How are we
whole,
doing at solving problems?
yeah. The
Yeah.
whole meeting comes down to what are you going to do this week and next week and
Yep.
next week and next week. And it really just gets broken down into its smallest, same as anybody would project manage a big install or manufacture process. You look at the whole project and you think, oh my, how are we going to build everything we need to build for this hospital to be completed on time? And then any construction pro out there would say, well, it's actually easy. You just break it into little bits. Same thing that you and I would do when we're trying to change the culture of a company, make it more profitable, get it so the owner's got some time off to live a life, enjoy themselves.
Never heard that before. What do you mean? What do you mean by
Well,
that?
Mike, what I like to say is you do all of this work so you can drive a nicer truck, towing a nicer boat to a prettier lake with a nicer cottage. That's why we do all of this. So you have the time off to do the things you want with your family around you, the people you love. The reason we're all doing this anyway. How many of us are here to make money, or are we here to provide for our family, right? Well, these systems that you and I are talking about, they're different, but they get to the same place. I just want to take care of my family, right? I want this business to provide.
Yeah, I mean, I think that some people's core values might fall under, money and making money, but I think that the best businesses have nothing to do with that at all. You're selling the dream that you're talking about, being passionate about building towards a vision, and also like celebrating individuals, personal wins and their business wins as well. And I love the start of we have our EOS, we call it a level 10 meeting,
Right.
Thursday mornings, 9 a.m. And we always start with good news. And it's just a really great way to start a meeting where you go around the room and you share a good news piece that's either like a business or a personal best. And it does two really cool things. It sets a really positive tone for the meeting,
Yeah.
which is great and important. And two, you get to know your management team at a different level. You get to know the people that you're working with, and you get to learn these little things about their lives that are important to them. And I mean, it's fantastic. It's not just now a place that you show up to clock in 7.5 hours and make my paycheck. It's a place where I know and I really like and love the people that I'm with, and seeing them grow in their lives. It's obviously not always rosy. There's things that people go through that are not good, but you're sharing that as a team again, and that growth through pain is just as important as growth through huge wins. But
wow.
yeah,
This has been we've covered a lot of ground, and I think we've covered it well. I bet you there's still a ton more questions you and I could answer.
absolutely.
Hey, let me ask.
I just want to know when people are. Yeah.
What? No, go ahead. Ask your question.
I was just wondering when people were going to read Traction and get a grip on their business. There's my plug.
Oh my God, you're just loading these up on me. Well, when they finally want to scale up, they'll understand the Rockefeller habits they need.
Yeah, you just can't scale without getting a grip first, though.
Yeah, that's okay. You can't scale without me. So actually, I don't know.
You know what?
You got some strong comebacks, buddy. I don't know what to do.
The facilitator, I think, is key. The facilitator, coach, whatever you want to call it, is key to this process. A lot of the entrepreneurs, like yourself and me, have very strong personalities, and I think it's really important to have that coach facilitator in the room, managing the process. Pushing back on everybody, including the founder or the owner, and just keeping it on track. And I love it because I love the fact that you're able to give that kind of. Did I lose you?
No, I'm listening.
Hello. Sorry, my screen blanked out there.
Oh no, that's me not talking. That must seem weird.
Yeah, but I just it's invaluable the role that the facilitator coach plays in implementing either of these business processes.
Right. I think when I look at the value that I bring as a coach or other coaches that I've had come into my companies, I think that the biggest value is something that is intangible, but it's perspective. It's the fact that they don't have a desk in the office. It's the fact that they're able to and asked to ask questions that we've glossed over or assume we already know the answer to. Perspective is the key.
Absolutely. Blind spots.
Yeah. And
Where are the
yeah, where are the blind spots? This has been true throughout history, is that strong leaders have always sought wise counsel. Always. When you look at the strongest leaders, regardless of what that culture was or that company was, you look at those people and around them. I know it's a made up story, but the Knights of the Round Table is an easy visual. The reason that King Arthur had the Knights of the Round Table is because he needed wise counsel. He's a strong leader, but he's a strong leader because he had people around him asking the tough questions and then going out to assist or bring in their expertise where it was needed, right?
Yeah, fantastic.
Hey,
Love the
Mike,
analogy.
we got to draw this to an end here. If somebody wants to get in touch with you and find out more about buying a company or perhaps selling a company or evaluation or a family transition, which I know you also do, how would they find out more about Mike?
Yeah, well, you could contact me via email if you like, mike@renma.ca. You could also look at our website, which is www.renma.ca. We have lots of good information on our website. There's events that we have coming up, and there's a seminar that we host that's called Exit This Way, June 6th. If you're interested, we have information on our website, or you could download information from previous seminars that can help walk you through the roadmap of exiting your business. So www.renma.ca.
Nice. And then that's great. Mike, I've really enjoyed having you on here. You clearly know your stuff. You're not a theorist. You've been out there, you've put this in place. Different industries, completely different. I think you said gyms.
Yeah, I did own a CrossFit and gym once, yes.
Yeah, I still, believe it or not, I still coach a CrossFit gym.
Oh, I do. I love CrossFit. It's fantastic. The only issue that I have with CrossFit is I'm getting older, and there should be like an executive version of it. So,
Executive scaling level.
yeah,
They have that. That's when
executive.
you
So
get
you're not.
ignored and you're at the back left of the class. That's where I stand.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
working on yoga now.
Thanks, Mike, for being on here. I really do mean it. I think I'd like to have you come back and talk a little bit about war stories from the buy sell side, because a lot of the people, there's people in transition on this listening here. They're either, growing or they're selling or they're buying into these various companies. And I think some of your war stories would help.
Absolutely, love to be a part of it. I subscribe to Tony Robbins' motto of continuous and never-ending improvement. So, love to share those experiences, and if we can help somebody else avoid one of the traps or pitfalls, I'd love to help.
Yeah.
So, anytime.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dominic. Okay,
Yeah.
take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye bye.